Okay, John Noble is with his family on vacation this evening, so we do not have a president's report. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Montgomery for the superintendent's report.
Okay, welcome back. It is August. For those of you who are watching online or in the audience, both boards of education do not meet in the month of January as well as July. So this is our first meeting back since June, and we have a great deal of information to update you on as we prepare for the forthcoming school year. So the topics I will hit tonight are summer projects, the Capital Project Advisory Committee, which is in direct correlation to the referendum that was passed in April. Talking a little bit about some of the professional development that I promise I won't bore you or give you any kind of lecture tonight on what I learned over the summer, but I do want to talk about it just a little bit and give you an idea because it was a great time to refresh and to recalibrate myself in my learning. I talk about the All Admin Retreat, which was yesterday and today. Lake Forest Days, and then finish with a fun thing that we're doing with LFHS Reads. So if I start with the summer facilities, there has been a flurry of activity this summer. In fact, about 12.5 million between both districts of work has occurred over the summer. So there has been construction vehicles galore, and if you have driven around the campus on whether it be Cherokee Elementary, West Campus, East Campus, you will see things that have been taking place. Please note that the projects that have happened over the summer were a part of the $15 million commitment made to the board in previous years that is not a part of the referendum dollars. Some people in the community, I think, are thinking that we're moving that quickly, but we have not even sold the bonds yet for the referendum. This is projects that were already in the works. One of the projects that I am most excited about, because I was hoping that they would be done last year, but due to a 52-week lead time, we had to wait until this summer, which are the replacing the rear windows at the East Campus, and those are installed and look beautiful, and I couldn't be more excited about those. You will also see a picture on the left of the parking lot and the seal coating and the repainting of the spots in this lot as well as the student parking lot, and it looks ready for action, and it's a part of this ongoing maintaining what we have that is above and beyond the referendum. The next thing I will focus is a collaboration with the City of Lake Forest, which is a crosswalk project that we've been talking about for numerous years. It is in front of the high school on McKinley, and right now we are awaiting the equipment for this. You will see that the sidewalk has been poured, the city is ready. We actually found out just yesterday that there was damage to the equipment when they were pulling it off of the truck, I think, and they had to reorder it. So where we thought we were going to be able to have it ready for the start of school, it's actually pushed back a little bit, and I think it's shipping from Wisconsin on the 25th of August. So hopefully early September we will have that project completed. This is similar to what they have at the college campus, where you have flashers to try to really increase the safety as students are moving from the walking path across the street from the high school and move onto the campus or as they leave the end of the school day. You will see, if you were here today, you saw the improvements to the West Campus in terms of the parking lot out front. We did the side and back lots last summer. This summer we largely finished the front lot, and we also added additional parking to help support the overflow situation that we're running to, because this campus is used so much, there are many times in the recent past where we just didn't have enough spots when we're holding joint meetings, and I think that the extra spots will really help alleviate that bottleneck that we found on those especially busy days. The roofing project is also complete or near complete on the West Campus. The staff has been especially gracious to us over the summer as we have worked through that noisy process of replacing the roof on this building. And I just want to give a special shout out to Dan Mortensen as he has overseen this project as well as all of the others to make sure that this has happened. This is just literally a small fraction of what's going to be happening on this campus or on these campus in the coming months to years. With that, or in that light, I want to talk about the new Capital Project Advisory Committee we met one time in June ahead of the summer months, and here are the individuals that we selected through an application process to join us to help advise the district in terms of the referendum process. This was something that was used in the 2005 referendum. Is that right? Is that year right? It's so quickly that these facts leave my head. 2006, forgive me, I had it memorized, not just 2 or 3 months ago. But we decided to replicate this process where we bring in experts within the community to help advise us as we work through the $105.7 million project. I'm thrilled by these individuals. Their wealth of expertise is just incredible, and we will be meeting with them on a more regular basis. The next meeting, I think, is Tuesday, August 15th, for us to get the project team up and running. Quick touch on my summer learning. There are numerous conferences in July and the end of June where superintendents can get out a little bit. This is a picture of me introducing a speaker at the Reagan National Library a couple weeks ago. Obviously, getting a chance to continue my learning growth is a powerful thing for me, and I enjoy it tremendously. In this meeting, we were talking about it has been 40 years since the publication of A Nation at Risk, which those of you who are not familiar with it, it came out post-Sputnik, and it really was the driver for all of the standardized testing movement that happened across the country when that report was released in 1981, 83, forgive me, 83, which makes sense with the 40-year anniversary, forgive me. But what they talked about was how wrong they were. And I thought that was incredible that after 40 years, the standardized testing movement yielded no gains, and the test scores have been weaponized and are not a true measurement of academic achievement. And there was a presenter that I absolutely was enamored with, and it speaks to the importance of the partnership with parents, because they said in research, and this is 2015 research, school success or student success can be attributed to schools in the whole success of a kid 1 to 14%. So 1 to 14% of a student's achievement is based on schools. 99% and below are to outside school impacts. So think of food security, think of what's happening in the community, and we are so blessed that many of our students come to school equipped with their basic needs being met, which is a direct correlate to academic success. It was a little disheartening that the research is showing we only have a 1 to 14% impact, but I will tell you that means we better make sure we have strong community ties and parent ties, and we should be maximizing our impact to get the 14% if that's the maximum. We want to do 100% success on that 14%. It was really interesting to see the people who authored that report and how it changed public education in the country reflect on how wrong they were. And that was the nexus of the work we were doing now versus what we were identifying in the past. I said I wasn't going to talk too much on that. I'm sorry, I think I did. All admin retreat, this is what we have been doing as an admin team the last 2 days. And you will see that we did a great deal of learning as a team. We brought in Jennifer Abrams yesterday to start the day. And the first day of the retreat, we brought in both districts together. So day one of the retreat has 67 and 115 learning together and building those ties across the districts from a shared service lens. Day two is, which was today, each respective district met independent from the other. So they could do a deeper dive into their building work within those districts. So Erin led her team in the one room, and then our directors led, the 67 directors led the 67 team. Jennifer Abrams talked about how to lead change management through critical conversations. And as we work through a portrait to a strategic plan to action plans and metrics, there's a great deal of change that's happening across both districts. So how do leaders support our teachers and our community through that change? That was the impetus of her conversation, and I think we learned a great deal about how to have critical conversations. The second portion of yesterday was dedicated to getting feedback on the action plans and metrics that we will be releasing to the community and to the board at our September board meetings for both boards. Lake Forest Days, this was the first year in some time, I don't know, I don't want to say ever, but I'm going to say in some time, where we marched in the parade and we unveiled our themes for the school year, and we had student representation, and I will tell you it was a blast. In addition to marching the parade, Dr. Georgia and his team led a job carnival or job fair, and he did this is his second year in a row to try to get TAs, try to get substitutes, and just create a general awareness of what we're looking for in terms of staffing, as well as, and I would say as important as, making connections with the community and us being present as the community comes together for Lake Forest Days. We had a great time, and I'm hoping that this tradition will continue in subsequent years. And it was a beautiful day, by the way, if you were a part of it at all or watched the parade. I will finish with this. This is something that's that the high school does that I am joining in on, which is a summer reading program where adults within the community, either the school community or outside, will lead a book, a summer book club for students. And I am, I think I shared this maybe before, I am leading a group for all freshmen. I think I have about 20 to 30 freshmen that are joining me, incoming freshmen. We're reading the book In the Wild Light, and then we will be coming together on August 31st to have a book discussion. This is something just fun to do. Many of you know that I'm a bibliophile, so when you're able to share that passion for reading with our students as an adult and hopefully continue to build that love of reading for them, it's pretty special. And I told my incoming freshman that she was doing this with me. She did get to pick the book, and I told her to solicit her friends. She is not done, but I am done with the book. So I have been pressuring her to make sure that she is ready for August 31st. She's excited. Like, I told her she's excited. She's very excited. Who wouldn't be excited to read a book with their dad and all their friends? And then,
Yeah.
isn't that fun?
And you told her, oh, I've finished? You haven't finished yet?
Yeah, yeah. Because we need to talk about it together. I'm really excited. And it was a phenomenal book, by the way.
She started the book?
She has.
Okay, good.
She will be ready as a good student. So that concludes my superintendent report, and I couldn't be more excited, especially after this all-admin retreat the last few days. We are ready, and we are excited about the upcoming school year, and we are just a short few weeks away with the first day being August 23rd. Thank you.
Dr. Lennart, we're moving on to the principal's report.
Thank you. We're getting it pulled up. Oh, perfect. Thanks. All right. So I decided to share a little bit about what I did this summer too, and my husband and I actually did a round robin where we did Grand Tetons, then we did Yellowstone and Glacier National, and so this is us at Mammoth Hot Springs. And I just realized I'm wearing a Washington Nationals baseball cap. Probably not a good idea anymore, but I do love that cap. But it was a fun time, and it's always good to get away and rest and rejuvenate and be ready for an awesome school year. So our August updates. First of all, we've had summer workshops, so that's where our teachers and some of our support staff members get together. They work on curricular things, they work on maybe their co-teaching together, some of the co-teaching strategies they're going to use, lessons that they're going to deliver. This summer was very unique because, as we talked about last year, we spent the time this summer doing some of the SAT college readiness skill alignment in our English and math classes. Today at our retreat, we really talked about how that needs to go, and we need to do some of that alignment in our social studies classes, really saying that numeracy and literacy are important in all of our classrooms, so how do we make sure that those essential college readiness skills are showing up in all of them? But this summer, we had groups of teachers who were really working on them in our math and English classrooms more. We also had all kinds of curriculum rewriting, trying to embed more progressive and innovative ideas into their teaching as well. I think 109 total teachers participated. 109, that's a lot. So it's always an exciting time to see teachers get to be able to talk about their craft. Summer school, you see, we had 53 students who were in those courses for credit, which is interesting. It's a declining enrollment, actually, for what we've typically seen in U.S. history, but we do see more students engaging in enrichment courses, 179 students, and the largest number of students who participated in bridge courses. And we're hoping to expand on our bridge courses in future years. So those are the courses that maybe help students to get a leg up if they're going to take whenever they're going into like a chemistry or an honors class. But again, 98 students, which is a big improvement in enrollment. Transition, we broke ground on transition. July 17th, I believe, is whenever our staff finished moving up here to the second floor. That was after ESY completed, where we had 12 students in ESY this summer. And you see Peter Kelly, who is now the official department chair for our West Campus and our transition students. He has been working with them for quite some time, but he's actually now moved into a full-time position just with those ESY those transition students. He actually took some pictures for me after they moved up here. So we see just downstairs, we see some amazing work that's happening. And then, of course, we have the first day of Lake Forest High School coming up August 23rd. We can't wait. Something that we had a number of teachers who were working on, and we heard about this a lot last year, is really that shared leadership model at Lake Forest High School, where we have teachers who come together with administrators, and we dream about ways that we need to improve, processes that we need to improve, things we need to improve on behalf of students. Something we were charged with last year is how do we get more student feedback in that cycle? Like what are students seeing as areas of improvement? So last spring, many of our instructional directors, as well as some of the teacher leadership team, actually engaged in student focus groups. We had 60 to 70 students who came in. We talked about things like school culture, things like academic excellence, what they were seeing in their classrooms. And from that work and the data from that work, as well as some of our a lot of our staff member feedback, we had our team working this year on what our goals would be. What we see here is Lake Forest High School really becoming a culture of accountability, with attendance being still a piece that we need to be reinforcing, respect and excellence. And I love that. And what I really love about the work that's going on is we're really talking about respect in a way that we want to make sure that all of our students and staff members feel like they belong in each one of our classrooms. Shared language around that, and really, I don't know what happened. Sorry. Well, let me go back, sorry. And really doubling down on that one Lake Forest High School statement and how it shows up in all of our classrooms and all of our interactions with our students. So some excellent work has happened around that. We heard about that today. We're going to continue that conversation next week as well. And then that excellence piece. Last year I came and I talked, I believe it was March or April, about the skills of learning assessment. And that's how students need to show up for class in order to make sure that they're ready and prepared to learn. The team really worked this summer to define what those things are. And you see up here, be ready, be focused, be engaged, be confident, and what that looks like in the classroom. Really important, because what we've noticed in the last few years, students are struggling to just understand what it is they need to do to be successful in school. And they're struggling to remember those, or to actually exhibit those executive functioning skills. And what we've seen over and over again in staff surveys, and interestingly even in the student focus groups, they're saying that we're having a hard time understanding what the expectations are. Some basic expectations, what might be perceived as basic, they're having a hard time understanding. So the team really came together to look and define what those things are. What we talked about is if our students are telling us they're struggling with it, they're telling us they're struggling with executive functioning, the staff's telling us they're struggling with it, it's our obligation to address it then. We need to tell them what we expect in order for them to be successful. So what you'll see happening in the fall, and I didn't want to unveil too much of it before our staff returns, we have something called the Scout Way. And that Scout Way is going to not only be around that culture of respect and how we treat each other, but also in how we want to show up for class every day. So I'm excited about that work, and I have some snippets here from a lot of the work that they've done this summer. And so now we have, not yet the start of the 2023-2024 school year. I'm reminded there's still a little bit of summer left, Erin. It feels like it just started in Illinois anyway, just a few weeks ago, or maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. But we do have some big annual events happening. We have the Senior 1X, and those will be actually the first weekend after school starts this year. My last 2 years, it's been before school, but we've pushed it back. We had fall sports tryouts. We had that this week. We had our first midnight field hockey practice. We had, you see the picture here, we had like 50 parents show up, fun times. And then, of course, our student athletes who were trying out for field hockey. I did not make it at midnight because I had to go to retreat the next morning, but we did have a number of staff members who were there, and it was a good time that was had. We have Teacher Institute Day. That's August 21st and August 22nd. We're looking forward to welcoming our teachers back, especially because of that shared leadership, because of the work that the School Innovation Improvement Planning team has been doing. We're looking forward to showing the teachers, showing the staff that the work of the students, the asks of the students, the asks of the staff are going to be showing up in our work this year. New family orientation, it's always fun, not just with the first-year students, not just with the freshman students and their parents, but any family new to Lake Forest, to get to welcome them and show them the awesome things that are happening. That's the evening of August 21st. New student orientation, for years we've been doing something called the LINK curriculum, LINK Crew. Maybe some of your children have even participated in that. It's really, it's a fun way to engage students in what we do at Lake Forest High School, and also maybe even think about some of those social skills that will make them successful as they transition in. And then again, we have first day, Lake Forest High School, August 23rd. So looking forward to a successful school year this year. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's great to be a scout. That was actually in the parade as I was walking back to her. Yeah, that was in the parade, class of 19, no, it's not. Class of 1973, I believe. They had hand printed it. And that was really fun. And I know Dr. Montgomery talked about the parade. It was fun to see so many Lake Forest grads and how proud they were when we walked by. You know, they were just so proud and happy, and that just speaks to this town, speaks to just the pride in Lake Forest High School.
You done, Erin?
Yes, I should have put a thank you slide, but.
No, you're good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the board will now hear public comments subject to Board Policy 2:230. At this point in the evening's agenda, this opportunity for public comment will be limited to comments about this meeting's agenda items only. Please hold all other comments until the following opportunity for public comment later during tonight's meeting. If there are any parties interested in addressing us on tonight's agenda, please step forward. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our committee reports. Finance and Operations Committee, Dave Burns has a report this evening.
Matt, can I just jump in? I forgot one thing, and I know that this is something that we typically don't do, but I forgot to celebrate someone. I should have. Brad Naughton, who was in the District 115-411, actually won the Illinois High School Counselor of the Year this past year, which is a tremendous achievement for our school counselors, for professional school counseling in general, and for Brad. Sorry.
You also, I was really excited to see Jimmy Giuliani is now a published author. I didn't know our technology expert was also an author. That was really exciting to see.
He's an English teacher, too.
So, I'm sorry, Dave Burns, back to you in Finance and Ops.
Okay, thanks. Would it be possible to put the presentation up just so that anybody streaming can see it? I'll wait for that, if you don't mind. Nope, that's not the one. I'll let Liz take care of that one.
Yeah.
No. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I know we have a view of it, but not everybody who's watching. Okay, well, thanks. We had a Finance and Ops Committee meeting in July, and had a really great multiple items on the agenda. Probably the biggest one was the tentative budget, and Jen Whitney and the team had a fantastic presentation, which I'm not going to go into detail because I think Jen's got that on the agenda later on. So I'll try to talk through a couple things because the committee members had some great questions about it. Even though the presentation was great, we really had some good conversations about what the numbers mean. You know, you see a lot of numbers, but what do they mean and why are they what they are? And so that was one of the things I wanted to talk to in the presentation tonight, along with a refresher on the financial calendar. So go ahead, go to the next slide. So I brought this up in last month's, or I shouldn't say last month, in the last meeting. When was that? June, I guess, right? Yeah, June. So the financial calendar, and I think Jen's going to refer to it as well. So this is a cycle that we go through, and last time we talked about the year-end projections, which was kind of happening in parallel with the staffing program modifications, but now we're on to the annual budget. So this is over a timeline, and the first thing comes as a tentative budget. But this is informed by the year-end projections, and that's what I kind of wanted to speak to today because these don't just come out of thin air. So we look at those year-end projections, see where we land as compared to budget, and then inform our budget that we're doing for the next year based on those insights. So that was one of the things that I thought was kind of important to create a level of continuity. So go ahead, Matt. Okay, so these are kind of small numbers. It's not really important to look at all the small detailed numbers. It's on the board packet, so if you want to dig in, you can. But really, one of the reasons I wanted to speak to this is that the budget that we are mandated to report, according to the IASB, has us put in numbers that sometimes don't necessarily describe the situation of what it takes to run our school financially in a consumable way, in a way that's meaningful. And so wanted to give a little bit of our take on what it does, different ways of looking at it. So in the first column, you see budget reported, and our revenue in the 2024 budget is just out of this world, $165 million. That's just, you know, certainly not what we would normally have as our budget. So especially if you look at that from a trending perspective, it just doesn't make much sense when you look at it from an ongoing perspective. And Jen is going to speak to this, I think, in the next board meeting as we look, next meeting or the next after that, as we talk about the 5-year plan. And so you can see it's 165. And then the expenses, too, are not necessarily what you'd expect, in large part because we're, as Matt suggested, we have a lot of projects going on related to the $15 million bond and spending that money. And this is really based on capital projects. You can see there are capital projects, debt services, referendum, that are investments on items that are going to be around for years and years, in some cases decades. They're not what we need to do on a day-to-day basis. So when you try to look at what is our operating budget, we'll call it operating budget, what does it take to keep the school running on an ongoing basis, there are things that you can take out. So in the second column, you look at the numbers by excluding the capital projects and debt service, but we're still including this thing called transfers, and I'll get to that in a minute. So some of the numbers that you see, capital projects, like in particular the 1.3 in the revenue, it also includes transfers too. So I only took out the capital projects and debt service piece of it, but you can see if you take that out, you're at a much lower number. You're down to this 55.5 in revenue, 53.2 in expenses. And so it gets to be this kind of more typical, normal number that you can really look at it over a historical set of years and try to make some sense as to what does it take to run this school. And are we increasing, are we decreasing, how much, that sort of thing. And then finally in the last column, and this is just, it's always been boggling, but there's nothing that we can do about it. When we move money from some funds to other funds, we have to show that money as transfers. And if it's going into an account, it's shown as revenue. Well, we didn't get money from taxpayers or the state or federal. We just moved it from one fund to another, but it has to show up as revenue. On the flip side, when it's going out of an account or out of a fund, it shows up as an expense. And so again, it's making it seem like we have way more expenditures and more revenue than we actually have. It's just internal transfers. So the final column really gets to that point of here's how much we're receiving in revenue and how much we're, what we have is expenditures that are going out of the building. And so really what it comes down to is, in particular for this budget, it's 53.3 in revenue and 50.8. And we'll get more into that as to kind of why it is year over year, and Jen's going to have a lot more information about that too when she goes over the tentative budget. But just wanted to speak to, there's multiple ways of looking at a budget, and if you just look at it at the ISBE mandated version, it doesn't always make sense, and you got to look at it more from an operating perspective. Any questions on that before I continue? Okay, let's go on to the next one. I tried to speak to some of the discussions that we had related to why things are the way they are from a year over year. So as we look at the revenue comparing 2024 to 2023, we went up by $2.5 million. Well, why? You know, that's kind of an important question. So I tried to highlight where we were increasing and where we were decreasing. This is some of the good insights from doing the year-end forecast. And so we definitely were undercalling interest income last year, so we've put that into the budget for this year. Property taxes are going, they went up, so that's 1.3. Our state funding for special ed transportation, we got better than we expected reimbursement for that last year, so we increased that. In 2022, 2023, we had exceptionally high CPPRT, corporate personal property replacement tax. Part of that was related to some leftover COVID support that helped businesses have more profit, so we got some of it that way. But just in general, that was higher than it should have been, so we're expecting that to be a one-time effect. So we're drawing it back from last year's budget. And then federal funding, ESSER, that's falling off, and there was like an extra payment last year that was just due to timing that even further made it bigger than it should have been. So that's how it added up. If we go down to expenditures, we are only increasing 1.3 year over year on expenses. When you look at the other and general inflation, outside of the buckets that I've characterized here, everything gets expensive or gets more expensive every year. This is only like 1% of our total expenses, so $500,000 increase over 50 million. It's not that much, right? That's going up, so you kind of have to put it in perspective. Oh my gosh, that's the biggest, but it's 1% of our budget that went up by inflation, so it's really not that much. The cost of benefits went up due to insurance costs. Professional development, we're planning on doing professional development for our staff related to the Portrait of a Learner and the strategic plan related to that. And then the salaries, it went up, but if you look at the number, it's actually relatively flat. And the reason for that is that certainly there's rate increases based on the contracts, but offset by attrition due to a number of teachers retiring and also a reduction in our enrollment as well. So not all of them were replaced. And then the other really great news is that our tuition for having some of our special ed students being placed outside of our building is going down as we're seeing some of them come back to the school. So that's kind of good news that they're coming back into the high school. So I know Jen is going to go into a lot more, not want to say more detail, but she's going to have a lot more information. But just wanted to share some of the really good conversations that we had in the committee about not just the numbers, but why the numbers are what they are. Any questions?
No, thank you. Thank you for not only bringing clarity to the committee, but then sharing it with all of us. I appreciate it. So, okay. We do have a True North Education Cooperative report on the agenda. John, I know it's in the board packet for the community to see. The board members have all seen it. Is there anything that you want to add to that during this meeting? Any highlights?
No, it's complete as presented.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now move on to the action items. May I have a motion to adopt the 2023-2024 tentative budget and the establishment of a budget hearing date?
So moved?
Second.
For our roll call vote, Whitney, did you want to give us any, what? Jen asked me to have,
Are you doing the budget too? Okay.
you're going to do that one?
That's what I was.
Sorry, okay.
Jen was going to do the budget and everything else was.
All right.
Could have easily handled them all, but I will.
Sorry, I didn't understand my note
No,
fully.
no, that was my fault on the note.
Okay, sorry, Whitney.
And I'm not going to say too much. I think Dave covered it really well, and I don't want to rehash or go over all the information that we presented in finance and ops. So what I will give for you is a promo. At the September meeting, Whitney actually will be presenting the budget hearing in great detail. So all of the information that Dave highlighted, we will go into some of those details related to that and kind of how all these pieces fit together for the next year. I will not be in attendance at that meeting, but I'm sure she will be fantastic. What I will also highlight for you tonight is actually the action you're taking, which is the board must place the tentative budget on display. It must remain on display for a minimum of 30 days before the board can take final action. So by accepting the recommendation here, you are doing so. You're setting your next board meeting as that hearing date. We will publish in the newspaper that it is available for public inspection for anyone that would like to see it. And we'll also go ahead and throw that up on the website sometime in the next couple of days, just for ease of convenience as well. So that is the actual action you are taking this evening.
All right, thank you very much. So may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Zinser,
Aye.
Dr. Benson,
Aye.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner,
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Oh, motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the renewal of the Miller Cooper contract for accounting services?
So moved.
Second.
Is Whitney going to cover this? Okay.
Will you come up so she can? No, I just needed to use the microphone, so.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Whitney. To press, yeah.
I'll get it eventually. So our audit has, we're working with Miller Cooper and we're requesting a 1-year renewal. Miller Cooper wasn't really too excited to do a multi-year contract with us just yet, especially with all the GASBs new GASBs that are coming around and the way the labor market is right now. They were more comfortable with doing a 1-year renewal. And so we are recommending that we have the board approve that. And just a little bit of some information would be, sorry, here are my notes here. They do understand our shared services, which is kind of different from other districts. And they do have an outstanding reputation and involvement in the professional various levels. And their audit fees are competitive. So At this point, we would recommend to approve the one-year renewal with estimated fees of $35,000 as outlined in their engagement letter.
Okay, are there any questions from the board? All right, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Weinbrenner,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. Zinser,
Aye.
Dr. Venson,
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the 2023 to 2028 Pepsi beverage contract?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Whitney, do you want to go over this with those who are tuning into our meeting tonight?
So we are recommending the Pepsi RFP this evening. There's a few different reasons why. The main one is our athletics really gears towards the Gatorade products, and with our RFP, we did request that there was trying to think of what that word was. A carve out basically of allowing our athletics to continue with Gatorade. The other company that we did get an RFP from did not submit that with their documents. So between that and we have worked with Pepsi before, and so we're just coming off of another contract that's expiring. And we also do have some ability to determine what types of options we have within our vending machines.
Okay, any questions?
No questions, but I just want to confirm / celebrate something. I think you're being humble here. If I understand correctly, the savings of going with Pepsi as compared to the other vendor, over a 5-year contract, we're saving $100,000 on that. So it wasn't like just pennies here. It was, a pretty significant improvement and cost savings as compared to doing that, not including all the benefits that you described too. Did I hear that right? Because I think we ought to celebrate that.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, thank you. Great clarification.
Anyone else? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Dr. Venson,
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner,
Aye.
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Ms. Zinser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Yummy Fresh Snack Vending Machine contract?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we'll go back to you, Whitney.
Just correction, it's 2028 is what it says.
What did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. 2023 to 2028. I can see it's an 8. I don't know why I said 4. My apologies. Thank you for catching that, Dr. Venson.
So we've been working with Pearl Vending, and their contract expires on September 9th, 2023. So we went out for an RFP with this as well. The annual revenues are very minimal. We're looking at less than $3,000. Part of why we received an RFP from Yamini Fresh, and we are recommending to go with their contract for a 5-year contract. Yamini Fresh is offering us a 28% on year 1 commissions, and it will increase by 1% year over year until we reach 32%. This is significantly greater than the 15% proposal we received from another vendor. And this one also allows us to kind of pick and choose what type of products we have in our vending machines.
Any questions? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Weinbrenner, Ms. Zinser,
Aye.
Mrs. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Dr. Benson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
It is nice to vote on items that are bringing revenue to the district and also meeting the needs of our students. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agreement with the Lake Forest High School Hockey Club?
Moved.
Second.
Do any board members have any questions on this contract? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Zinser,
Aye.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner,
Aye.
Dr. Benson,
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items, including approval of disbursements, payrolls, and financial statements, May 2023, approval of human resources report, hires, resignations, retirements, leave of absence, change of assignments, additional assignments, activities, athletics, test prep assignments, minutes of an executive session, May 9th, 2023, minutes of a regular meeting and workshop, May 9th, 2023, minutes of an executive session, June 13th, 2023, minutes of a regular meeting and workshop, June 13th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Davis,
Aye.
Dr. Benson,
Aye.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Ms. Zinser,
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. FOIA requests, Sherry Reed, Smart Procure, 3 of 3 completed. Pete Jansen's, 5 of 6 completed. Joe Weiss, 1 of 1 completed. Vince Espy, 2 of 2 completed. Catherine Smyser, NBC Universal, 2 of 2 completed. Josiah Chatterton, 2 of 2 completed. Laura Casada, Coca-Cola Bottling, 1 of 1 completed. At this point, the board will now hear a second opportunity for public comment, subject to Board Policy 2:230. This opportunity for public comment will be limited to 60 minutes. Members of the public will be granted a maximum of 3 minutes each to provide comment on school district matters. Individuals that have signed up for public comment cannot yield their time to other individuals in an effort to give others additional time above 3 minutes. All those speaking are expected to act with respect and civility and to conclude within 3 minutes and if requested by me. So interested speakers are invited to step to the podium and give their name before addressing the board.
My name is Joseph Kopsik. In the interest of promoting that respect that you just talked about, you guys were 27 minutes late in starting this meeting, and I really think that's a bad way to lead by example for your students who have about 3-minute passing period to get from one end of campus to the other. So my time is very valuable to me. Would anyone like to offer an apology to the audience? That's what I thought. My name is Joe Kopsik, Lake Forest High School, class of 2005. LFHS Theater Director Dave Miller has been free to molest as many teenage boys as he wishes for 47 years without consequences, without trial, and evidently without even spending a single moment in jail. Miller is not even the only teacher in this town who has been accused of committing sex crimes against children. He preyed on boys. Well, Charles H. Ritz of Lake Bluff Junior High preyed on boys. Cynthia Martin of LFHS in the 80s preyed on girls. And there's another at Lake Forest Academy, Diane Ross. There's an entire book about the crimes allegedly committed by the owner of one of the most successful businesses in Lake Forest. I have that book in my possession, but I hesitate to even show it to you because of my fear that the author and her family will be retaliated against after they fled the state in frustration and fear after Lake Forest police declined to properly investigate that person or file criminal charges against him. The culture of silence and feigned ignorance around this subject and the deflection of responsibility have got to stop now. The magnitude of this problem cannot possibly be summarized within the 3 minutes I am allotted. You are giving me 3 minutes to explain a problem that has gone on for 47 years. For those of you watching at home, if you would like more details, you can email me at jwkopsick@gmail.com. If any of you here tonight decide to start taking the protection of your children seriously, I'll be out front. If nobody shows up within 3 minutes, I will leave, and this problem will continue to fester until your children become their teachers' next victims. Now who's got 3 minutes?
Thank you. We are moving on to announcements. Tuesday, August 15th, 2023, there will be a joint special Board of Education meeting with District 67. The 115 board will meet at 4 o'clock, and we will be joined by District 67 at 5 p.m. That will be here at the Lake Forest High School West Campus Boardroom. Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023 is the first day of school for freshman students. Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023, there will be a joint policy committee meeting at 5 p.m. Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023 is the first day of school for 10th through 12th grade students. And Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, the Board of Education will meet at 5 p.m. here at the Lake Forest High School West Campus Boardroom. May I have a motion to adjourn the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board Meeting for August 8th, 2023?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a voice vote, please? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.